Yeah, so today we are going to start the load process. So in previous classes, we had learned stage processes. So in a stage process, we learn what are the different options we have on a stage table, like delta detection, preserve, audit trial, creating mappings. We learn here how to create mappings and complex mapping as well. And we went through all the clinch functions available here. At this stage, we have completed our stage process. A stage process means once we load data from landing table to a stage table, that is called a stage process. So whatever things comes up in between that, we have completed that. Now we are going to move one step ahead, that is called trust and validation of applicability. So before that, I want to start the load process. Let me let you know what is load process. So as we know that landing table is the starting point of MDM landing table. Then we will have a stage table. So in between this landing and a stage,
1 second. 1 second.
please be in mute, Raj. So this is called a stage process. And with the help of a stage process, we dump the data from landing table to a stage table. Now our load process will start. What load process will do? So in load process, we will load data from a stage table to base subject table. Okay. So what is base subject table? I will recap this. So today we are going to focus at this.
Basically, target table, right?
Yeah, base subject target table. So today we are going to focus like how we can move data from a stage table to base subject table, and what are the different things comes up in between that. So Raj, you can be in mute, and I will give time for the asking question. Then you can unmute yourself. Yeah. So let's focus here. So we are here. So you remember when we had created a stage table, I had told that time that every stage table here, every stage table is subset of base subject table, right? That means maybe our base subject table can have, suppose, for example, 20 columns, and a stage table from source 1 can have a column 15 columns, a stage table from source 2 can have 20 columns, all columns. It depends on how much data we are getting from the respective source for the respective columns, right? But base object, we will have maximum number of columns for the respective, what do you say, entity. Like if you are talking about customer entity, so if you are getting customer data, so suppose the maximum number of columns we are getting 30. So we will add all the 30 columns in our base subject table for customer. Okay. And maybe for respective stage table, we can have 10, 20, 25, 30, depends on our data feed from the source. Okay. So as we know that when we create a base subject table from here, then our stage table gets populated here, right? So how to move data from a stage table to base subject table? This is a question is coming. Like for moving data from uh, landing table to a stage, what we had done, we had created a mapping by ourselves. We had created complete scratch mapping by ourselves, right? So what to do for this process? So for this process, MDM will give us inbuilt process. So how MDM will give us the inbuilt process, like how it can understand like what kind of job I need to build. So once you are selecting number of columns here in a stage table, here see, like suppose, for example, here in base subject table, we had 3 columns, which are coming from source. And for example, I had taken all the 3 columns for this stage table. Maybe I could take 2 column also. It depends on our requirement, right? So once you are selecting the column here in a stage table, then MDM is understanding there is a relation between your stage table and base subject table. And these columns you are getting from source from a stage table, and these columns should be one-to-one mapped with the columns from the base subject table. So once you are selecting column here, like if you are creating a stage table new here, you can see here it is asking option to select the column from the base subject table, right? So once you are checking this column, so internally it is building the procedure, means PL/SQL procedure, and just it is doing one-to-one mapping. So one-to-one mapping means customer name from a stage table will move to customer name to base subject table for the respective source. Address from a stage table will move to address column of the base object table. It will be 1-to-1 mapping for the respective source. So once you are selecting here, accordingly in the backend, it is building the procedure. So for this movement, like for the load process, we no need to create anything. So how we can see that processes, like whatever process is created by MDM for load process. So for that, you come to batch viewer, and here you can go to load, okay, because we are learning the load process. So once you are going to load, here you can see two process, load from this and load from this, because we had two stage table, EDW and CRM, okay. So once you define a stage table here, suppose if you define 5 stage table here, so automatically 5 load job will be created by MDM, and that 5 job you can see here. So we are not creating this, this is creating by Informatica internally by itself, once we are selecting the number of columns, okay. So yeah, I will give time for you guys to ask question till now, if you have any question.
So you said about the transfer the data from the staging, right? Load, landing table to our base table, right? So so our choice, we can select the column, right? It depend. Now the column, it will be automatically understand which column is table going to map, right? You said, right?
Correct. So that it's between the stage table and base subject table.
Okay,
So
and
once
we need
you
to
are selecting the column in a stage, it will automatically MDM will understand that this column should be mapped with this column of base subject.
Oh, so one question is, say for example, okay, this map. Say for example, column name is like here is a cust ID. Might be the stay low landing area customer ID.
No, don't talk landing area. Landing area is over for us. We are here.
Okay,
We are talking here, na?
okay, sorry, stage
A
area.
stage, huh? Okay.
Stage area, some column name is not correct. Stay some customer ID.
Hmm.
So how it will be understand?
Yeah, correct. Good question. So for understanding, once you see that once we are adding the columns here in base object, okay. So
Mhm,
after adding columns here in base object, once you are coming to a stage table, so
mhm.
here it is not giving chance to you to rename these columns, okay.
Okay,
So here you cannot rename the columns. You have to use the same name of the columns. Just you
got
have
it.
to select it. So what you are saying, that is not possible having a different name, okay.
Mhm, mhm.
Yeah.
Got it. So that table, see, say for example, is a target table. It will be created in a database, right?
All table will be created in database
Yeah.
from
So that's
backend.
so one other question. Say for example, in database column is altered the customer ID. So it will be going to fail or mapping
Yeah,
or what?
it's absolutely going to fail. So in MDM, we have to make sure that we don't alter anything from backend. Okay. So
Hmm.
if you have to alter, you have to alter from here,
No, okay.
because
Everywhere column name and data
yeah,
type, length,
all the
everything.
metadata things you have to always alter from here, because it's
Hmm.
not means altering the base subject table itself. There are metadata tables also. It is going to impact. Okay, indexes and all many things are there. So in MDM, always keep in mind, don't touch the kind of alteration of the tables in the backend. Okay, you can do the means data truncation, deletion, addition, that in backend, that is fine, but don't do any kind of means alteration, updation of table from backend.
Okay. Okay.
Okay.
So another question can I ask?
Yeah.
So say for example, in future we need a new column and we need to alter the column in our base table, right? Say for example, pin code or something else like that, right? In this table. So we need to add this column landing area, staging area, and the base table as well. Everything.
Right. First, you have to add in landing area. Then you know that in a stage table you cannot add directly. You have only option to select that. So you have to first add in the base subject. Okay. And in a stage here you can see, if you have added the column here, it's not giving you let me take it's not giving you chance again to add the columns. So in that case, you have to drop the stage table and again you have to recreate so that you can select that column. Okay, na?
Okay.
Yeah.
So
Because
in
here,
that case, you need to drop the entire stage table
yeah,
and
drop entire stage table for the respective source, again recreate and again select that column.
got it. Okay, thank you so much.
Yeah. Ashish, do you have any question on this?
While populating from stage to BO, what will happen to the columns that we have not selected in staging? Means those
Staging,
are
yeah.
only the part of
Yeah, so
BO.
what will happen, for suppose once the data will come for EDW, and suppose this customer ID we have not selected for this stage table, okay? So sorry, customer ID is a primary key, so let's take suppose customer name. So null value will pass to the customer name for that particular record from the EDW. So the columns which are not selected out of columns available in base object, so for that column, for the respective record from that particular respective source, null value will be populated by default.
Okay. So in that case, what is the need means what is the benefit of selecting stage table columns? Because in anyhow, if we want to populate base object columns, we have to populate stage table all columns.
Yeah, your question is valid. So suppose actually in real time we will have 30, 40, 50 columns also in some cases. So suppose if we are not getting data for, if we are only getting data for 20 columns out of 50 columns, so we will only do mapping for the 20 columns. This will also load data for the 20 columns between a stage and load, and it will just by default, it will mark a null value. So just for the system, better system performance, we select only those columns which for which we get the data from source. Otherwise, if you want, you can select all and just you can pass the null value. That also you can do, but it will unnecessarily add kind of impact our performance, because here in suppose here we have 50 columns added, and but only we are getting data for 20 columns. So other columns either you will not map because you are not getting from source, so by default it will populate as a null value. Or in place of that, you don't add those columns in a stage table. There is no need to add. By default, that column will be marked as a null value in base object table. So both option is there, but due to better system performance, we don't add the columns which are not coming from the respective source. Okay, now?
Yeah, okay. So there is not any process of loading any new column between stage and BO.
Column. Yeah, so if you want to add new column, so in that case, you have to add that new column here first, because here we are getting the option, right? And once you
So
added
I'm
this,
asking in terms of populating columns, like if we want to populate BO, all the columns, then we have to populate all the columns in stage
no,
from landing to.
that is not necessary. That is not necessary. So
Yeah.
from the stage, suppose we are only we are populating 20 columns. So for rest 30 columns out of 50, it will by default taken as a null value in the base object. So it's
Okay.
not necessary that all 50 columns out of 50 should be mapped from a stage to base object. It's not necessary. If you will not select those columns, so that the columns will be taken as a null value by default. So yeah, you guys can try just in some cases now you just take two columns here out of three, and you try to do mapping. And then today what we are I am explaining, once we run the load job, you can see that we don't have any data in the column which is not mapped. That will be the null data by default. Okay, maybe in this example we can see also, if you want, we have already completed the stage process. Okay, so just a minute, let me drop this the stage table. Let me drop this, remove this. So once you will drop, it will show you what is the impact. So this is going to impact this mapping also. So this mapping will also be dropped. Okay. So let's drop this, no issue, because the stage process we have already completed. And yeah, and let's add some column here in base subject. Take mobile number. Mobile number. Let's take Bharkaris. And let's come to a stage table. Let's create a stage table. So this is for EDW. We'll select EDW source. And let's give a name is underscore EDW underscore cache. And here let's take only customer ID and customer name. These two fields. Don't take two. Okay. Then we can see the impact of this. So EDW, it's only 2 columns, right? Fine. Okay, so we have to create mapping also because we don't have any data in a stage, right? So for getting data in a stage, we have to create mapping. Let's come here, no issue. Let's create mapping, add mapping, and m underscore edw underscore cust. And here select the landing table. Landing table is cust, and the stage table is this. Yes, okay. EDW, let's do auto mapping. So in auto mapping, it will do the mapping on the basis of same value of the columns, okay? Like how we do for the power center and others. And let me pass this customer ID here. So customer ID, we can use concatenation so that data will not be rejected. So let's not pass customer ID directly. We can pass customer ID. Sorry. Customer ID, customer name, and address. Let's concatenate these three and then let's pass the PKSRC object. So simple mapping we are doing to make sure that PKSRC object, which is the primary key, should not be duplicated. Okay. So, okay, now our load process is also ready. This time we have only taken the 2 columns here, customer ID and customer name. Here you can see in mapping, we have only mapped these 2 columns, customer ID and customer name. We have not mapped the address and mobile type, mobile number. So once we get data from this source, by default value of those 2 columns will be marked as here. Actually in a stage table, we don't have that column. We cannot see that, but in base object, once we will see, then we'll be able to understand. Okay. So let me first load data here in a stage table. So for that, you can go to a stage process. Where is that? For a stage here, we have the stage mapping SEDW, this stage process, this one, let's run it. So all data got inserted, no rejection. Well, let's come in backend and see data in the landing table. So this was the landing table. Here we had 7 data. Okay, yesterday we had inserted. So out of 7, oh, so see, this time we have done one mistake. What? This time we have created the mapping, but we have not applied filter here, okay, from source system. So we will see that if you not apply filter, it will load the CRM data also, which is not correct. Na? So we always have to make sure that we will apply the proper filter. Enable condition and apply the proper filter so that respective source system data will be filtered and correct data will be loaded. So EDW. Let's do the save. Let me run once again to get the correct data here. And we know that a stage table is truncate load, so no need to truncate. It will automatically be truncated. So see, this time we got the 6 data. 1 data, this got filtered out. Okay. So now let's come to a stage table and let's see. This is a stage table. We got 6 data. This got concatenated, and here we can get see our all the 6 data. Here you cannot see address and mobile number, right? Why? Because we have not added that address and mobile number here in the stage table for EDW. Here we have only added these 2 columns. So we are only getting data for these 2 columns in backend also. Okay, this is clear. Now let's run the load process for that. Because we have already created the stage table, so load process will automatically be generated. Let's come here and let's run the loads process for that. So execute batch. And refresh the status. So here we can see we had 6 data from source and all data got inserted, completed successfully. These options we will see in the upcoming classes. So basically 6 data we received from a stage and all 6 got inserted in base subject. Now let's go in base subject and let's see. Where is your base subject? Okay, here we have our base subject table. PB cust. PB cust. Yeah, here we have. So this in base subject table, always remember that row ID object will be the primary key. This will be the primary key and this will be automatically generated by MDM. So if you remember a stage table PKSRC object, so PKSRC object we used to generate by ourselves. We can handle that, but here you cannot handle this row ID object. So this will be automatically generated by MDM, okay, by default for each record. And once we come here, see here we can see that we are getting data for these two columns and we are not getting data for these two. So automatically once you select the respective column for the source, then MDM will understand that these two column is not selected for this stage table, means these two column will be marked as null. And for understanding that, for EDW, we have the mapping in EDW. Let's see how many columns has been selected for CRM basically. For CRM, we have third column also, right? So let's try to run the CRM. Let's see if we have that filter applied here or not for CRM. Yeah, filter is already there. So let's run the stage process for CRM, okay? Not this, this is a load. Here is CRM, this is CRM, okay? A stage. Let's run this. We are supposed to get one data. So we got one data, which was there in landing table. Okay. Now let's run the load job. So come to load job of CRM and run it. So here is the one data we got in our base subject. So let's come to base subject and let's refresh it. And here you can see this data is from the CRM. How to know that this data is from CRM? Here you can see we have a column last row ID system. Okay, so last row ID system is basically nothing but it's a source system column from the stage table. So how this is means MDM is understanding this record is coming from CRM. So once you create the stage table, you select the source system, right? On the basis of that, it will understand that this particular stage job is marked for the this source system, and that source system column name is last row ID system in the base object. So here you can see this data belongs to CRM and other data belonging to EDW. And for CRM, we have the address column because this address we are getting for CRM source, but this address we are not getting for EDW. Accordingly, columns will be populated as per selection in the stage tables. Okay, so hope now this is clear. Here the main thing to focus is that just remember that this is the primary key, last sorry row ID object. I will update that details in this document. So I think you guys are not able to see the document as is told me yesterday. I will try to restart server so that it can be visible. So row ID object is primary key, creator is admin because by default it is taking admin. And here the good thing is that, let me write some note here for base subject table. Base object table. So base object table. Here we have row ID object that is called row ID object. Few columns we have to remember here. This is called the primary key of base subject table. This is applied for all base subject table. Okay. Here we have one last row ID system. Okay, last row ID system. So this is nothing but source system. So how this will understand which source system? So once we create a stage table, we select source system accordingly, MDM will understand that this belongs to which source system. Okay. Few of the columns here are very important. Let me first explain that, then we can come on question and answer. And means one of the what we say frequently asked question for load process is consolidation indicator. What is the value of this? Okay. So for consolidation indicator, we can have multiple value called consolidation indicator, IND. Okay, so this can have 5 value, it can have 4, it can have 3, it can have 2, it can have 1.
So
So 4,
fixed value. One second. Question.
yeah,
So you said consolidate IND having the 4, 2, 3, 1. So this is a fixed value or
this will change. This will change. So give me some time. I will explain this. You will be able to understand.
okay?
Okay, now. So once we are having 4, that means this record is new. Once it is 3, then it's Q for matching, and one is 2, then means
Okay, got it.
Q for merging.
Okay. So this
Okay.
is basically some indicator like that.
Ah, right, correct. And 1 means got consolidated. Got consolidated.
So this is a kind of seed data. It's I think
Master data.
uh,
Okay. So once we get the master data, then the indicator will change to 1. Okay.
1.
So let me explain this. So why this is showing 4 this time? Because we have got the fresh data from the source. From the landing stage, we got the fresh data in the base subject. That's why this indicator is 4. Okay.
Okay.
And we have the other processes also here. Let me write here in the starting. Once we get data in base subject, then from base object, some tokenization process start. So okay, tokenization process. Then we will have a process of matching.
Okay.
Then we will have process of merging. Okay. So what will happen once we get the data in base subject here, and once we do this tokenization, matching, and merging? So here we saw that for the stage process, we are moving data from landing to a stage. Means we are moving data from one place to other place. For load process, we are moving data from a stage to base subject. Again, we are moving from one place to other place, right? But for this tokenization, for matching and merging, you are all going to do in the base subject table itself. You don't have other table, okay? So we are going to do the different 3 processes in the same table. So how you can understand which process has been applied on the data, so that we can understand on the basis of this consolidation indicator. Because once we apply the processes, then accordingly this consolidation indicator value will change. So once suppose this value is showing 2, so 2 means what? Here we can come, if you don't remember, so here we can come, and 2 means what? It's Q for merging. That means matching candidate has been identified for this record, and now it's ready for merging. Okay. If we are having 3, that means this record is now ready for matching. Means it tokenization has been done, now it is ready for matching. So all these things for all for this respective data, all the 3 process, tokenization, matching, and merging, is going to happen in the same table. So for identifying which process has been applied, we have the consolidation indicator column for that. So this column is very important, very important for interview and for our practical and for project also. Okay, now?
Consolidator.
Yeah,
So this is the okay. One question. This is the auto created column, right? Or
yeah, this is a system defined column.
System defined.
System defined, system populated also. It will populate by system itself. Once we done the respective process, the system will populate this column. We cannot control it.
Okay. Can you go to your notepad? I have a yes. So this is okay. So first 4 is new, then Q. Say for example, my record while loading, I have loading the bulk load, right? Millions of record, and my in between something will happen. Might be database down or something will happen. Logged, whatever. Here's the database, and my mapping got failed in condition 2 or 3. So it will be going to roll back again for a new record, or it will be stay.
See, condition 2 or 3 cannot fail together, because either we can run this job.
No, just might be 3. Okay. Say for
Okay.
example.
So suppose if you are running the matching job for finding the matching candidate, and in between that job got failed. Okay.
Failed,
What
yes.
it will do? It will completely roll back. It will not apply the change. Once this process will complete, then only that change will be impacted. Okay. So it's not like out of million record for few thousand it will change, after a few thousand it will leave. It will not like that. Once the process will complete, then the commit will happen in returns.
Okay, got it.
Yeah. And for
Commit
this,
each pass.
yeah, and for the, see, in the next 2-3 classes, we are going to spend on the base subject layer itself. So here we will see, we are going to see different scenario and different examples. So I think most of your questions will be answered in the upcoming classes by itself. Like first question can come like if you are loading data through the load process, then job failed. Like what it's whole job failed here. In place of here, first time only if you are loading data from a stage table to base subject table and your job failed, then what you will do, right? So these questions answer we are going to get in our upcoming classes. Okay, now?
Okay.
Yeah. So here we got consolidation indicator column. Now let's see a few more important columns which we need now. Last provided system already we know. This is a source system. And yeah, one more important column is hub state indicator. Okay. So let me write the value of this. Hub state underscore indicator. Okay. So it can have 3 values, 1 and 0 and -1. Okay. 1 means that record is active, in active state. Okay. 0 means record is pending. Pending means it is in
Waiting
the
for some.
waiting or it is in the approval process. So for suppose we have defined a 4 layers of approval, 5 layers of approval, and if data steward or business is creating the record from the what you say from the user interface, not from the database. So until that record will not be committed in database after the all approval, it will show as a pending. I will show in the upcoming class in the active VOS and all. So this record is not means active in the database, means still is pending or hold. Pending or sometime we call hold. So data steward, what it will do, if they are not sure about the record, so they will put that record on hold. So for that record, we will see that hover standing indicator will show as 0. And -1, this is soft deleted. Okay. This record is soft deleted, not hard deleted. Hard
What
deleted
does
means
mean by soft delete?
soft delete. There are two type of delete. If you have one data here, suppose in this database, and if you are firing a delete a star from table name and where row ID object this, then that particular record will be deleted completely from the database. You cannot see that record, right? And
Correct.
soft delete means the record will still be there, but some
At a stage.
yeah, no, not in a stage.
No,
Record will be
status will change. My
yeah,
inactive.
correct. Status will change. So there will be some flag which will identify that what is the status of that record. So
Yeah.
in this case, our flag is hover state indicator. And if the value is -1, then you will understand that this record is soft deleted.
Okay, just one suggestion, Abhishek. Can you just simple write one small description? You see for a consolidate IND, right? Just small distance, so easy to understand when you go to refer this node in future, so we can know what is a consolidate indicator and what is it. So
Yeah,
you're getting the
see,
point. What I have to
you
explain.
don't worry. I told that we are going to spend 3-4 hours here in this layer itself. Then after that, you will remember these all the columns. It will be so friendly. Apart from
No,
that,
just for reference,
yeah.
I'm saying.
Apart from that, I will give some additional notes, means some guide from Informatica that will be more helpful for you guys for knowledge base.
Okay, no problem.
You will have lots of knowledge means points there. So that also I will give. Okay, na? So we got this hover state indicator. Now we will have this we will see in the other classes where it will be required. And these are the system columns, business columns we got from the source. That is fine for time being. I think, yeah, here we have one more important column, that is last update date. So this last update date is coming directly from the stage table. Okay, means once the data will be updated here, accordingly that will be updated. And one thing we have to remember here in base subject table, like for a stage table, we saw the different child table. Okay, so here in base subject, you can see these all are the basically these child table is as C has created. So mine one is starting from here. Okay, so for this CB cust, my child table is here. CB cust, CTL, that EM. Okay, this all we are going to learn one by one. This all child table. So here we have one column that is CB cust XREF. So this is very important. Okay, why this is very important? Suppose here if you are coming in CB cust and you want to see what is the primary key of this record, it means you want to track back this particular record which came from CRM, that this records from what is the detail of this record in the stage table, then how you can understand?
No, referential
Yeah.
reference.
So if you want to track back the data lineage of this record in backward direction, then how you can do that? So here you can see we have the source system name. We know that this record from the CRM.
Correct.
But we don't have the primary key of this record in a base subject. So until we don't have primary key, we cannot search that record in the stage table. Of course, we can try on the basis of these attributes, but these attributes could be duplicate. Until we don't have the primary key of any table, we are not sure that we can find the record uniquely, right? If we are searching on the basis of these attributes, it could be right or wrong also, right? So for searching the record uniquely, we should have the primary key of the record in that table. So that primary key is not here. Okay, not you cannot see the primary key of a stage table in base subject table. So you cannot track back that record in base in a stage or in landing. Okay, so for maintaining that data lineage, MDM has created a table, child table that is called cross reference. It is called XREF, means cross reference table. So XREF table underscore XREF. Underscore XREF means cross reference table of base object. Okay, so what it will do, it will help us to track back data from the source, helps to track data from source. How? So now let's come to cross reference table. Okay, now I clicked here. So here you can see we have the PKSRC object. So this record CRM which came from the CRM source, we have the source system name and we have the PKSRC object. So now we can easily find this record in this stage table. If you go in a stage table of CRM and you can have the primary key, you can easily find this record, right? Because we have the primary key of the record in the cross reference table. So this is the main benefits of having the cross reference table. And other benefit is that suppose this is the first time we executed our load process. Okay, in the second load, suppose we got some update. We got some update means let me change the data here. Suppose where is our landing table? Here we have the landing table. So suppose from the CRM we had one data Raj and address was Delhi. So suppose Raj updated his address from Delhi to Delhi 123 something like that. Delhi 123 something. Okay, Delhi 123. Okay, updated address like that. Let me save it. That means you got this update from the source. For this particular record, you got some update from the source that address got changed. It can happen, right, in real time. Address can change, mobile number can change. In some cases, if name is incorrect, name can also be modified. So this scenario can happen. So if we are running loading this record in a stage table, as we know that this is a truncate load, so it can easily load this record in a stage table. So let's run the stage table for this for CRM. So here you can see we got one record. If we come in a stage table, sorry, we have to go for CRM, right? Not EDW. For CRM, the stage table name was CS cust. So here you can see the address we got like that. Okay, Delhi 123. Now, if you are running the load process, then what should happen? If you are running the load process, because as we know that base object is not a truncate load, that existing record for Raj will truncate and this will load. Then what should happen? So here cross reference will come in picture and it will help us. So cross reference now will act as a lookup table. So what will happen in load process now? For this record, it will check the primary key. So primary key is 100. So once we are running the load process for this, so this primary key 100 will come and it will go in the cross reference table first, not in the base subject table. So basically this will do lookup in the cross-reference table. So it will check that do we have the entry 100 for the CRM or not. So it is saying yes, this entry is already there. Means this is the second time we got the entry. If the entry was not there, then it's blindly just it will insert the table data in the base subject. It will understand that this is a completely new record. It came first time in base subject. So blindly it will just insert that record in base subject without any disturbance. Okay. But here we can see this record is already there in our system. So what it will do? So in this case, it will update that record in base subject. Because MDM is understanding this is existing record and it came from source, that means some update has come. But again, here we have one trick, okay? So always it will not update. So now here one columns come in picture that is called SRC LUD in XREF, okay? So here in XREF, there is one column called SRC LUD, yeah. So the full name of this is source last update date, okay? Basically this is last update date of a stage table, okay? Last update date of a stage table, a staging table, okay? So this will come in picture now. So okay, now we saw that this is available, this is present. So shall this record be updated or not? So it will check this value. What value we have in our database? We have 30 December 425. Okay. So now it will check what the value we are getting from source. Let me copy this record here. The Excel. Okay. So here we have this value 30 December 425 something. We got this record. We had this record loaded here. Okay. Now whatever record we are getting for this, let's see the last update date. How where we can see here also in the stage table. So in the stage table, what is the last update date of this record? Here you can see like that. Why is it getting same? Okay, let me see it. Working here. So these and this is getting same or what? 30 December 15 0425 is completely same. Okay. Why it's same? Let's come to mapping. And in mapping, we have in last update date, whatever last update date we are passing, taking from source, the same is passing. Okay. So in this case, if the last update date is same, this record should not be updated. Let's run the load process because this is same. So MDM will understand we have got the same record. So this should not update in that case. Now let's see the scenario. Then we will change this. Because it will do a lookup on the cross-reference table. And in cross-reference, it will see SRC LUD. And in SRC LUD, if it will find same value, then it will understand it is same record. Okay. So now let's run the load process and let's see what is happening. Let's come to load process of CRM, execute batch. See, here we got one record from source, but it not got inserted. That is fine. It not got updated also. And no action. No action means it understood that this is the same record. Okay. No action means it's the same record. Why? Hope you got the concept because we had this SRC LUD in our cross-reference table. And whatever data we got from source, their last update date not got changed. That's why MDM is understanding that this is the same record. That's why this not updated. If you come in base object table, and again you can check here. So if you see that this not got changed, address is not changed. Okay. So this we understood. If we have some record which is already in system in base object, and if that some change of that record is coming from source, so it's not always mandatory that that will be updated in base object. So it will go and check the SRC LUD in the cross reference, and if that is bigger than the existing data, that means MDM will understand this data came after that, so let's update that. And if this is same, it will ignore that. How it ignored here? You can see we can see the no action as one. Okay. So in this case, if you want to update that record forcefully, you want that I don't mind, I want to update the record forcefully. Okay, suppose in some business cases you want to update the record forcefully. So here we have one option, force update. Okay, so you can check that force update, and it will not see the SRC LED in that case, and blindly it will update. So let's execute batch now. And here let's come. Here you saw that one record we got from source, one got updated and updated in cross reference. Why? Because this time we had checked this force update.
Force update.
Okay. So in force update, it will not check the last updated column. It will forcefully update. If the record is existing, it will forcefully update. Now let's see the data here. Let me refresh here. See, now the address got changed, right? And if you come in cross reference also, here it will also change. For this will also change. Okay. So it's not mandatory that if last update date is same, then we cannot update. Still we have option. Okay, we have to be clear on the concept that still we have the option. We can enable the force update and we can update that. Okay.
Can I ask one question?
Yeah.
Can you scroll left hand side? Yeah. The column name row ID underscore object. What does mean of this? What is the significance of this?
See, this column, as we know that this is the child table of base object. Okay. So every base object will have the row ID object as a primary key. So for connecting this parent table, base object table to child table, we have the row ID object in the child table so that we can connect these two tables.
Okay, this is holding the child table row ID, you say.
Right, correct. So same like that, you have suppose employee table and department table. And if you want to connect, you should have department ID column, right? So same like that, here we have base object table, which is having this column have the row ID object primary key, right? Same value is populating here in the cross reference, same value. So the row ID, these two columns are connected. So these two columns, later I will show you, is not connected only on the basis of row ID also. It also take the row ID system also. So once any record you want to track back from base object, you have to take the row ID object and also you have to take the source system name. Why? Because maybe, row ID, just a minute. No, this is not mandatory. So if you take a row ID object, you will have only one record in cross reference. But here reverse is not true. Reverse is not true means if you have the PKSRC object, okay, so it's not always sure that PKSRC object will not be duplicated. From the other source, maybe same PKSRC object is coming, okay? So once you want to uniquely identify record in base in the cross reference, you always have to keep in mind, you just don't see the PKSRC object, this one, you also see the source system. That means row ID system. So maybe for this system, this is this PKSRC object got. But for this CRM source, also we can get this kind of PKSRC object. So PKSRC object for the different source could be same. Always keep in mind. So once we combine PKSRC object and source system name, then it will always become the unique in the stage table or in the cross reference table. This we are not discussing in base object. We are discussing in the cross reference. Okay. So always keep in mind this value could be same for other source, not for the same source. Because for same source it will not allow, right? In the same source we saw in mapping that it will reject the record due to duplication because the PKSRC is primary object, primary key. But for other source in other mapping, we can generate the same value in some cases. But once you combine the source system name, then it will become the unique. Okay, so now we got the concept. What could be the condition of updating? Condition of update in this object table. The first condition it will take data from a stage to XREF table and then checks SRC LUD. Okay, so if SRC LUD is same, then data will be ignored. IGNO ignore means no update. Okay, if we enable force update, then it will ignore SRC LUD check and it will update data forcefully in base object. Okay, so these are the two conditions we got for the update in the base object table. Now what we can see here, so this is same and let me show you here one thing. So we are clear on the cross reference table, what is the benefit and how the data is getting populated. So what could be scenario? One scenario we saw that some fresh record is coming, which is not existing in the cross reference. So that will completely be inserted without any issue. We saw if the record is already existing and if the date is same, then again it will ignore that record. But if you enable the force update, then that will update. And here, if SRC LUD is what is say latest than existing record. We saw the scenario of same, but we don't see the scenario of more or less, right? Let's see the two scenario more. If SRC UD is less, suppose C less. Suppose here we have data of 2015 November. So we got some data for the 14 November. Then what will happen? Let's see that. So in that case also in 14 November, you guys can do this means practice during your session. I'm just writing a note here, so it will ignore because it will understand that this is a old record. Okay, it will ignore. No update will happen. In case of if data is having the less value of SRC LUD than existing data, it will ignore no update. And in this case, if it is more, it will update. It will understand that this is the latest data. It will update. So this one, these two, you guys can try in your kind of practice session. I have just written here for reference. Okay, so what next we can see? Let's come to this child table. So this control table, dirty table, these are merging table, the cross reference table. So today we are going to we can see the this how we can define the trust. So as we know that if we come in a starting that once we do this matching and merging process, so in merging it will look for the weightage or trust level of the record, right? So basically how to define trust in Informatica MDM, that part we can see now because that is also available on the load process itself. Okay, so once we run the load process, then accordingly the trust value will be calculated. So how the trust value for the respective attributes we can define in Informatica MDM, that also we can see. Or maybe that I can start from fresh tomorrow because that will be the new topic. So I'm taking a pause here and you guys can ask questions. Ashish, do you have any question at this time?
Abhishek, yeah, Abhishek, soft deleted. I have a doubt. So can you tell what is?
So there are two type of deletion here. There are two type of deletion, two types of deletion in database also in database. That is called soft delete. Means record will not be deleted from DB table from column flag will identify as soft delete. Okay, and there is a hard delete.
Permanent delete from the database.
Yeah, record will be deleted from DB table. So if here we are not doing hard delete, so in hard delete what would happen? We used to run delete a star from table name where this is this, right? So in that case what happens? It will completely delete the record from database. You will not be able to retrieve that record, right? So that is called the hard delete. Means once you did the hard delete, you will not be able to see that record in DB table. But in soft delete, what we do, the record will still be there in database table, but some column will be there which will mark that and which will help us know that this record has been soft deleted. If you know the concept of ACD type 2 and slowly changing dimension, there we use the soft deletion, means we mark the history record as a soft deleted, right? And we keep only one record as a active record. So same like that in soft delete, suppose here, suppose in database, let me come here. Suppose here we have total 7 record, okay? So if I am doing delete a star from this base subject table where row ID object equal to 7, so that record will completely go. You will not be able to see that record. But if I want to do soft delete, so I will see which column can help me to identify soft deletion. So for example, here we have a state indicator. So if I want to soft delete, just I will change this column from 1 to -1. So once I will change this column from 1 to -1, then MDM will understand this record has been soft deleted.
And this is used basically that record will not view in your front end.
Yeah, it depends on our
That is
configuration.
Yeah.
So
that
in
is the way.
configuration, if you don't allow soft deleted record to visible, it will not visible. If you allow, then it can visible also.
Yes.
So it depends on our query and package procedure. We are going to see that in upcoming classes. So later we will see. Okay, now so this is basically soft delete and hard delete. Any more questions?
I'm good.
Okay, so let me stop the recording for today.
Okay.